And let us again invite the Minister of Housing, Member of Knesset and Major General in Reserves, Yoav Galant, the Minister of Construction. Hello, good evening to everybody. In order to understand the threats of the future and how we can prepare ourselves for the threat, I think it is quite crucial, as far as I'm concerned, to be able to internalize and to understand our history, just in a nutshell, and to understand the environment in which we function. About 100 years of conflict in this region, more or less. At the beginning, it was terror, then there were conventional wars, and then once again, in the recent decades, we have been combating various types of threats. Within these 100 years, there were 25 years in which conventional wars took place. 4 wars, 48, 1956, 1967, 1973. But their impact, again, was crucial with all that relates to this region, and let me explain. In fact, at the end of these 4 wars, the parties fighting against us took 2 very basic decisions and very different from each other. On the one type of decisions is represented by the positions of the Egyptians, later on the Jordanians, who said to themselves basically the following. They said, we fought against Israel in 1948, in 1956, in 1967. We surprised Israel in 1973 with the Syrians. And how did the war end? 101 kilometers from Cairo, not 101 kilometers from Tel Aviv. If so, the time has come to make peace. By the way, an army that within 18 days toppled over the war, turned everything upside down, crossed the Suez Canal, and reached 100 kilometers away from Cairo, is also able to conquer the Gaza Strip. There is no question. It has the capability. The question is, what will happen after that? What happens if we do take control of the Gaza Strip? Will we remain there? Will there be Salafite organizations who will be even worse? Will Fatah take control? Maybe there won't be any control, as we have seen in other regions. And that is why I'm closing parentheses. The IDF has a capability. So that is one direction. The Jordanians followed suit. And this channel is basically a channel that says the time has come to make peace. On the other hand, there is a different phenomenon which is more concerning and more problematic, which challenges us till this very day. And in fact, our enemies are undergoing this evolutionary process of thinking, of developing. They've said to themselves, if we are not able to defeat Israel in a conventional war, that means, again, through the central spectrum of threats, let's go to the edge. What are those edges? Again, a non-conventional warfare, intifada, guerrilla, terrorism, other such things. Or let's go to the other threats. The super conventional threats, what does that include? The super conventional threats, biological warfare, chemical warfare, and again, whether we're talking about, again, missiles or aircraft that can carry these types of weapons. This actually creates the vectors that we have seen. Again, in our area, we have seen these things in the past 20 days, again, in the sub-conventional threats and the super-conventional threats. In recent years, there is another environmental component that has been added to the equation, which is very significant. The regimes around us were, in fact, regimes that based themselves on military organizations and intelligence organizations in Syria, in Lebanon, in Jordan, in Iraq. However, after 100 years, more or less, since the Sykes-Picot agreement that divided up the Near Middle East very superficially, today we have 3 types of situation. The first situation are regimes that are based on fundamental Islamic radical organizations and parties that support this idea. This is happening in different places. It happened in Egypt, then the situation changed. I don't know how it will continue in Iraq, but that is one type of situation. The second type of situation is a situation in which that order is preserved, where there is a leader, which is which controls the military, Lebanon in Syria, Lebanon, and in types of Sinai, which is and when we look at these two situations, I think that we can see before our eyes various challenges that are developing, but also opportunities. Let me elaborate. Most of the problems are right at the doorstep of the military force. At the beginning, our perception, at least in the following decades, if somebody hits me around the border or near the border, or launches missiles, then I attack Syria. If there's again missiles from Syria, I attack Damascus. If there's an attack from Lebanon, I attack Beirut. Of course, if there are environmental threats and other concerns that have to be taken into account. But I think that in this context, we will be required to do different things. The other thing that has to do with exercising the IDF strength and building the IDF force. I think that military that had to give solutions for certain areas that are invaded through a conventional war, there are less threats, but it's still there. That army has to be able to give a solution to the other types of scenes. Again, to create, be able to give response to non-conventional weapons being used against Israel and organizations that hold such weapons. And on the other hand, to give a solution to all types of sub-conventional threats. Remember, at the end of the day, it's the same army, the same units, the same bodies. And that is why I think this reality, as far as I'm concerned, requires of us to really conduct great changes. And I believe that our army is about to change dramatically in the coming years as a result of, again, of the circumstances at hand. This, again, load will be placed on the army. It will have to contend with it, and we will have to continue and cope with the situation. I think we'll have to also recruit whatever we can recruit from our intelligence organizations, from other intelligence agencies, further capabilities that will be to develop in the world of cyber in order to create an intelligence sensor which, again, would be independent, that would be able to reach even that commander in the field. It will rely on information that comes from many, many sources in order to be very, very accurate in its operations. We'll also have to operate, again, a more integrative warfare, more combined between the Air Force, land forces, and intelligence, but also within the land forces between artillery and infantry and all the different units and connecting between them. I think command and control will have to be done differently. They'll be target-oriented. They will be online. They'll also be updated. Again, mobility of forces will have to be much more flexible. We will have to reach a situation in which, again, a force that is, again, using hammers sent to the north suddenly gets a change of order, turns around, feeds in information about the picture of, happening in Gaza, suddenly goes to the Gaza Strip, and when he's there, he's already ready because he's received an update. That is not easy in terms of operation and connecting between all the different forces. Of course, we'll have to strengthen the various national defense components. And we will have to be very aware, very attentive in order to preserve the resilience of the Air Force. Because our enemy understands that the Israeli Air Force is a strong point, and it will do everything in its power to hit our planes, our jets, and to undermine the system which is able to attack through various points in various systems, including the cyber system. With that, and now I'm going to talk about the opportunities. The current reality poses quite a number of opportunities. Firstly, just notice the situation in which the entire world sees terrorism as an enemy. Israel is there, Russia, the USA, Europe, and even large parts of Africa and Asia. Everybody is fighting that same threat. Israel is bringing to the arena military capability, intelligence, technology. We are a very central player, and by leveraging our own capabilities to that international level and creating alliances, this is of great importance, because first and foremost, I think, again, vis-a-vis the external players, Europe, Russia, the ties are warming, as you know. The USA, who always was and will be our great supporter and our ally. And there's also an opportunity here. 3 out of the 4 strong Muslim countries, the central countries in the region, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Egypt, I'm placing Iran on the side, they're also struggling with similar problems. They have a deep interest in fighting the Sunni fundamental jihadist Islam with all its different components, whether you're talking about Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Jabhat al-Nusra, or the Muslim Brotherhood. And Israel has a lot to contribute and should unite forces with them. And that is why, if I try to sum up in a nutshell all the things that I've said, let me say as follows. The world around us is changing. This change is related to the new order, which was called mistakenly the Arab summer. We can call it the ongoing winter, which we have been experiencing. There's no spring, the rumor of spring behind it, and there's nothing glamorous about it. We are talking about something different, something dangerous, something threatening that has changed the picture. I think that development before this, and again, our enemies taking sub-conventional, super-conventional directions, I think will place Israel and other security forces in front of new threats, and we have to contend with them differently. However, alongside this change that is taking place, I think there's a change in world order. Those who were once enemies could soon be our friends, because the enemies are different today. And in this context, we will have to bring all that we know. We have to create alliances, regional and international, and to overcome the threats and to strengthen the resilience of the State of Israel. Thank you.